What I was going to say was that a nice friendly atmosphere. I'd actually involve the audience, really, rather than me just sort of rambling on here, because I can drift into talking about things on television, things in radio, but I just wondered, maybe I may be pushing the boat out, maybe experimenting too much, but to see if I can sort of involve the audience by asking questions. So instead of me saying, you know, when I first got on television, I did this and that, I could just see if there was any sort of questions about, I can tell you the sort of question I often get when I'm walking down the street is, the most embarrassing one is people start talking about how they enjoy my work on television, and then it becomes apparent when they say, and of course you're Australian, aren't you? And I said, no, and it's obvious they're talking about Clive James, and they've been praising the wrong person. And there's a crucial time as to how long you can let it go before you say, no, I'm not the person you think I am, but we are very similar. We've got no neck, no hair, no eyes, and we've been on the television. So, as I said, it's a big room, but I just want to see, is this going to work? How are plastic people? Are you good at asking questions? There was the first question, which is difficult. Yeah, you've got one? You've got one? Yes, sir.
Is Osborne really guilty?
Is George Osborne really guilty? Well, guilty of what? He's on a holiday on one of these sort of luxury places. It's Club 18 to 30 billionaires. I think he's guilty of a bit lacking in ambition. This bloke's got billions of pounds, even after this credit crunch, and he was possibly asking for £50,000. I mean, it's hardly worth, I know to you, if everybody has nothing to me, it would be a large sum of money, but £50,000 is really not worth, But I thought when Tony Blair got into that trouble all those years ago, trying to get party funds, it was £1 million from Bernie Ecclestone. That hardly seemed worth it to put your whole reputation on that, but for £50,000, but he didn't get the money, and he claims not to have asked for the money. But isn't it an interesting insight to the way the world works, that on this boat you've got a Russian billionaire, you've got Peter Mandelson, who was the European Trade Commissioner, who was taking decisions about the companies involved. What a strange coincidence that was for a start-off. And then you've got the potential Chancellor of the Exchequer of the Conservative Party. It's almost as though there's some sort of club of powerful and rich people who've got the whole world stitched up to our disadvantage. But there'll be a further speech from the President of the British Plastics Federation. Yes, sir, there's a question. Michael Parkinson or Geoffrey Boycott? Well, I've interviewed Geoffrey Boycott. You're obviously not an avid listener to Loose Ends, the very popular Radio 4 chit-chat programme. Geoffrey Boycott was on about 3 weeks ago, and I'd see this for Geoffrey Boycott. He knows his subject, which is himself, and you just ask him a question and away he goes. And no, he's a good interviewee. You don't have to worry about he was unplugging a book about the 100 best cricketers in the world, and he enjoyed himself. He answered that question, and he sat with all the other people, and he actually spent the rest of the recording this is like tidying a sock drawer. He did his interview, and then he had a sort of two like address books, and he was transferring his telephone numbers between one address book and another while I was interviewing, I don't know, the Pope and Michael Jackson. You know, it was like sort of a story set up, but he wasn't really interested there. So he's a good interviewee. Michael Parkinson I've tried to interview, but he never agreed to when we were kind of both on television together. Now I've substituted for Michael Parkinson quite a lot, but interviewed him not. But I believe they're both from Yorkshire, but they don't ever mention it, obviously. So that's a good question. Yes, sir. Good question here. My theory I developed just on the hoof last night. I think we're definitely ready for Obama, but we want this foxy chick vice president. We want her as well. She's so entertaining. So we can't have it, but we want Obama to be president and Sarah Palin to be vice president, because it's just so sexy and exciting, isn't it? Having this good-looking woman with these crazy views. Catholic presidency they've ever had. They've had no Jewish presidents, no black presidents. They've had no presidents outside of, British or Dutch or German stock in their entire. It's ridiculous. So to have somebody who's half Kenyan, half Hawaiian, or whatever it is so exciting. And then they might even move on to Hispanics or Filipinos and the whole rainbow coalition of people who live in America. So whether he's any good as a president, of course, I've no idea, because he just looks cool, doesn't he? That's all we know about him over here. what his policies are, I have no idea. It's, both McCain and well, both of them, Barack Obama, both of them are. At any rate, we can come to the fact they're both demonstrably better than George W. Bush. So we are going forward, I would have thought. That's my opinion. That's my any question of this side? Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. John McCain. What do you suggest John McCain does with his tongue? Oh, I know. I'm with you there. I thought that was a ruder question than I understood. What should John McCain do with his tongue? He took the wrong route off of a platform, and it's an awful thing. He stuck his tongue out, didn't he? And you make these weird gestures in a fraction of a moment, and that's the picture that goes. I think McCain's done a good effort. He should have been the candidate possibly 8 years ago or 20 years ago. I'm not being ageist, clearly I'm being ageist, exactly what I'm being. So he's got many qualities to him, but in a strange way, and I know it's easy for us to sneer because we have nothing necessary to write home about always, but they seem to come up with one candidate is too old and one candidate is too inexperienced. And you know, I think the way the wind is blowing, it looks like McCain is going to. That was his finest hour to be a candidate finally. But who knows? Could be wrong. It looked like Al Gore was going to win 8 years ago, and he did get more votes. And but that wasn't quite good enough, was it? Not in the Senate. So there was another question behind you. Oh.
Have you made up with the Bee Gees yet?
Have I made up with the Bee Gees? Not entirely. I'll explain to anybody who doesn't know what you're talking. I know what you're talking about, but and I, to be honest, I did used to have a lot of fun about the whole thing about the Bee Gees walking out on my interview. I try not to make so much fun of them, and now they've started dying. I thought it's not so. No, it's not fair anymore, is it? But. No, it was a horrible moment. I had them on. I won't tell the full anecdote because I'll be another half hour telling us. But they were on my show. In fact, I'd done a whole show, and then we were pre-recording them for the next week. So everyone was in a very excitable mood. The studio audience was very excited because they'd already had a show, and the Bee Gees were better, you know, more famous guests than anybody else they'd already seen that evening. So everyone was very up and up and up. So I wasn't trying to give them a hard time. I was trying to sort of jolly them along. And I thought, as a misjudgment by me, I thought they were very much on my side and into the whole humour thing. And then when the lead Bee Gee, Barry Bee Gee, the oldest of the three of them, he came up with this rather weird thing. He said, I like to think I know everything about my guest mentioning, but he said, oh, because we were called the Bee Gees, we weren't always called the Bee Gees, we used to be called Les Tosseurs. And I thought, well, he's obviously joking, it's a joke, I'll join in. I said, oh, never mind, you'll always be tossers to me. And for some reason they didn't walk off at that point, but he brooded on that. He brooded on that when I was talking to the sort of Weasley-looking Bee Gee, Robin Bee Gee, and I was talking to him about a hit single he'd had on his own. This is talking about 30 years before, and I was treading on. Oh, there's the Bee Gees fan walking out. There's always one. So that distracted. I was talking to him, and Barry was brooding, so he decided, oh, he'd had enough of this, and he walked out. And it was a horrible moment because we'd only done a few minutes. And if I'd been, cross-examining some government minister or some businessman over some corrupt deal, and they'd walked out, at least I'd feel I'd achieved something. But I was just trying to be fairly amusing, and they didn't like it. So there it is. So that's there is a longer story that goes up. I don't think I've got time for that. Yes, sir. Good.